are. What was calling me? Um, huh? All right. Yay. So, welcome to the fraud department. We are, well, we're always aimed at raising our vibrations. But today we want to specifically talk about how to raise your vibrations and standards. So, of course, I've got our resident here, Aiden. Yay. And there's so much to talk about, you know. Um, I think kind of, what did we say? Self, raising your vibrations is really all about self love, like from all aspects, all angles, and the true reflection of how much self love you have for yourself, or what level you're at with that, is going to be reflected in your standards. So I think, Aiden, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've been dealing with a lot of issues um, in the higher education arena, as far as standards of excellence. Um, we'll get to some of that later, or on another uh, on another video. But today we really wanted to talk about the standards of primarily, I think, what we put in our bodies. It kind of start a lot of everything we go through, what we're experiencing, the good, the bad, the woes, our energy levels, our thoughts, our negativity, sometimes our outlook on the world, has to do with how we feel, and how we feel physically. And so our bodies are,
Memory bank,
yeah, our bodies are memory banks that um
which is what your DNA is. It's a record of everything. It
mhm.
has anything to do with your lineage, or the atoms that make up who you are. That's all stored in that DNA. So it's just a record book that tells
Mhm.
your body what and how to operate.
Yeah, and so a part of how we kind of got on this topic today about standards is, we all just came from, well, most of us, I would hope, had a happy Thanksgiving, and people went and they ate and they ate and ate till they couldn't eat anymore, and you know, over the past, what, I guess 3 or 4 months, I've probably become maybe 80, 85% fruitarian. For the most part, just eat fruit and juice, cold pressed juicing. And then the rest is raw vegan. I still have a addiction to Whole Foods brown butter cookies, but so that's not good. I got to get off that processed sugar. But for the most part, I don't really eat a lot of the foods that I used to eat, and you can tell the difference. You feel great. You feel. I don't think I've ever known what it felt like to just have energy, not be tired and sluggish, and um, every morning, up before the sun, or um, and so over Thanksgiving, I think we both had the experience, and I'll just talk about mine just briefly, and then you can go into yours. But um, went to, uh,
It
well,
wasn't
I
that.
don't think we're recording through this thing anyway.
It should be. Yeah, it's plugged in.
Is it? Oh,
Hold on.
so was there any sound then on the?
It was
Uh-oh.
probably
We're just starting all
it was
this,
probably
so
recording through the camera, through the
through
computer.
the computer. Okay. Well, whatever. We're just now
What's
getting
up
to
with the
the.
echo? Oh, you got it turned down.
I gotta turn up. Okay, we're just now getting to the nitty gritty anyway. All the intro stuff wasn't really important. So anyway, so I don't eat these kind of foods. My body has pretty well detoxed off of a lot of really really toxic substances that we put in it. Um, And so, but for Thanksgiving, oh, the turkey look.
The giving of
Oh,
thanks. You didn't thank your body
oh,
on
I
Thanksgiving,
did
did you?
not. I did not. The the turkey. Oh, Aiden's grandpa. He what did he was it smoke the turkey? What did he do to it? He
Smoke vault.
smoke vault smoke vaulted the turkey. Whatever he did, but oh, it was right. And then grandma made this like dip that she always makes, and so I just said, I can, every now and again I can have a little something
I can
something.
divide the creator. Let's be honest. You called your cookie situation an addiction. That was you being honest. Now
Mhm.
let's be honest about the actions that you did. How did it feel like you were thinking your body? No. I know people that I follow on Instagram that actually fasted on Thanksgiving. And then after that,
Mm,
they transitioned to a raw diet. Like they're already on their path, but they pick Thanksgiving as a day where I'm gonna Sabbath and then I'm gonna switch over to raw. So
okay.
it's little stuff like that.
Okay.
We have to clap for those people.
All right.
And
Let's clap.
you know, hey,
Where's the applause button? Don't we have a
oh yes we do.
where's it at? Cheering.
What's a part right here?
All right. So shout out to the people who are going raw. And I mean, and in all honesty, that is for years I've always battled, as I'm sure a lot of people battle with, what type of diet should I be on? What type of food should I eat? What's best for me? And to be honest, um, I've always just had a desire to eat the way God intended. I said, if I eat the way God intended, I shouldn't go wrong, right? So yeah, so the raw life is the way to go. But here's the thing. So let's just get into Thanksgiving. So we go over to
You cold?
huh?
You cold?
I am cold. That's why I still have my jacket on. So we go over, and like I said, the turkey was just, oh, it was right. Um Papa had the turkey all the way
The
right.
flesh was fleshing. Okay, that's what she's trying to say.
The dead and decomposing flesh was really really attractive to
On
me.
the
So
aluminum pans, y'all know what it is.
coming in from outside, the big smoker outside, and then here comes the hot pan in, and it was just, oh, the char was just right on the top.
The
Anyways,
carcinogens.
oh, it was good. And so I said to myself, you know, it's Thanksgiving. It's an occasion. Go ahead and we've said eating and food has become a central part of socialization in our society. So, when you're often scowled or ridiculed if you don't eat um what's been prepared for you and things like that. So I said, oh, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. I can taste a little bit of, one day out the year. And and I had it and it was good. And went to sleep that night, and the next morning it was like I was having all this like kind of uh, back and shoulder pain, just kind of was felt immediately felt the effects of just being
Decreased
sluggish.
vibrations.
Yes, decreased
You gotta keep
vibrations,
it on theme.
low vibrations, and from what I'm learning today in speaking with my biology expert here, is that what I was feeling, all this pain and tension and whatever, all up here, was, it was just inflammation. And let's talk a little bit about um, what were we saying earlier about inflammation? He's the expert, not me, on the body stuff. But we want to get to
What's
the
the
truth
question? What's
about
the
what these
question?
foods, just how, remember how I was saying that I felt, I was feeling all this kind of pain and just kind of just hurting. Not really, it didn't really affect my stomach the way I thought it was going to. Like I thought my stomach would hurt and go to the bathroom a few times, whatever, no big deal. But I really just kind of felt I was a little more tired that next day. Um, Remember, I didn't even really get up and out till almost 2 o'clock. Like my body
So, on
immediately.
the topic of vibration, let's talk about frequencies. Every food has a frequency. It has a general rating that you can determine what level that food is at. If we're talking about the creator, we're talking about frequency. So we measure frequencies in angstroms. Angstroms is a tool of measurement. I'm actually learning that right now in chemistry. Wavelength of energy, photons. So there's light energy in all the food we should be eating. So when you're eating fruits and vegetables. There are light codes. There's DNA within this food, and you're able to use some of this and in the form of nutrients and minerals and hydration and water in order to unlock your own DNA. So when it comes to the digestion process and breaking that, we have a complete understanding of what that looks like. So on the giving of thanks that we found ourselves on November 26th, 25th,
somewhere
what
in
was
there.
it this year? Um,
Last Thursday,
you found yourself eating dead.
I
Okay,
did.
you've been on a livid, eating living things over the past few months, over the whole year, honestly. And I'm really proud of you for that because we've come a long way. All of us have came a long way.
Hmm.
And what happened was you
I
were
really wanted
vibrating.
some Waffle House,
You
scattered,
were
smothered, and covered.
you
Yes.
were you see how fast those cravings came. So you were vibrating up here on the livid, you know what I'm saying, and you went down to the bottom, you know what I mean, going down to a diet, and you ate zero frequency foods. Fruits are the highest rated energy source with over 12,000 angstroms of energy that you can unlock from fruits, and I believe vegetables is about 9,000. So everything else outside of that, whether that's canned, whether that's packaged, whether that's in a box, whether it's in a can, a plastic, glass, if it's dead, the frequencies are gone. It's done. You know what I mean? And when we get our food, you could people that don't understand, you may argue with me and say, "Oh, well, it's dead as soon as you pick it." That's not the case. It was designed to ripen. You can tree ripen things. You can ripen them in your home, but it was designed to come into its prime form after you've got it to store it. You know, as humans, we don't have these big sacks that we can hold food. We don't have big sacks that we can hold water,
Right.
and we don't have any claws to
No,
kill.
let me pause you there. Let's go back just a pinch to the meat part. Would you say that, like, because I my brain is mathematical. I always think of everything either on a scale
Mm-hmm.
or in numbers. So you look at, there's this zero. Okay, there's the high vibrating stuff up here, real high up on the scale. You come down to lower frequencies to zero, which is going to be dead for your dead flesh, I guess, meat, stuff like that. But to me, dead flesh is worse than zero, because as soon as it's dead, if you don't consume it immediately, now it's decomposing. It's down in the negative. It's like, and then,
Mm.
and being in the negative on this, on the end of the scale, you're below zero. You're
Mm-hmm.
decomposing now. You're lacking everything. And so when you move down on the negative scale, that being in the negative scale is what causes all the negative repercussions in our bodies, all the disease, all of the cancers and diabetes, and just just everything. Oh, I really want to talk about this whole tooth law, and the teeth. If when you look at, and that's what I was telling a friend of mine, and I think it kind of like blew her mind. But when you look at all these when archaeology, they digging up the dirt, they're digging up bodies, they're finding well preserved head skulls and things like that. And when you look at a lot of these people in these skulls, they had perfectly straight teeth, and most of them were all still there. I mean, besides whatever damage may have happened over time, for the most part these people still had their grills when they died. Okay. And part of and
We're
I think
talking
we
about this. Let's just be honest, guys. We're talking about this because we have nice teeth.
yeah,
Never had
I think we're
braces.
descendants of those good ancient people, because we were born and gifted with really nice straight teeth. I still have all my wisdom teeth. You have wisdom teeth, don't you, brother?
They're grown in a little bit,
Are they
but
okay? Yeah, yeah.
I
He's
don't
he's
notice them.
19, so I guess he's, I don't know how old I was when mine came in, but the point I'm making is that there are a lot of things that we talk as humans. It's just kind of like the running joke now with getting old, right? Oh, when you start getting old, this starts breaking down and that starts breaking down and this happens and that happens. But guess what? It doesn't have to happen. Like it only happens because, yeah, over time, if you're beating on something over and over, it's gonna break down. Any material that gets beat on and pressure continues to be put on it over time is going to break down. But if and so and I feel like people break down quicker when you're in the negative on your food vibrations. When you're below the zero, specifically with meat, and this is not necessarily a crusade against meat, but that is one of the worst.
Yes, it is.
That is one of the worst foods we could be eating, and it is technically against nature. And like I said, having stopped a lot of things for a period of time, and then made an exception and said, oh, I'm gonna just, ooh, it's gonna taste so good, and then feeling, and because I had been clear of it for so long, I was able to immediately see and recognize the adverse effects. And it's like, whoa, okay, this stuff really is bad, you know?
Right. And what was the problem is you've been indoctrinated into this lifestyle that you are probably living in right now. So the symptomatic response that you've been accustomed to has been taking place before you were even walking. So you'll never really be able to get a true understanding about the fight and the pain that your body goes through on a daily basis just to keep you operating in your lane. You know what I'm saying? So when you give your body a break and you have some self-love and you care and you rest and you fast, and you don't even have to fast, but just abstaining from anything, abstaining from one part of the diet, abstaining from the bread at the table, abstaining from the soda at the table. Simple stuff like that really goes a long way, and your body recognizes and is able to now utilize its resources, because your body, just like a country has a limited set of resources based upon its geographical location, the people, type of people that are living there, what's under the soil, what's above the soil, whether it's on the coast and it has a port, whether it's up in the mountains and it has lumber, things like that. Your body has a certain set of resources, and that is either replenished or it's deplenished every time you eat food, depleted every time you eat food. So when she's talking about this negative and this positive, we have to understand the entire universe in these terms, because there is that relationship between the positive and the negative, the masculine, the feminine. And when we're dealing with food, something that is past its expiration, something that is past its, its window of opportunity, it's very sickening that we dress these things up and we put aluminum foil clothes on them. We put bras and shoes on our chicken, and then we put herbs, and then we put these oils, and then there's so many levels of the problem with meat is how you have to get it. That's why it's so bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because and it's kind of like, like some of the rules that you should follow are really simple. Like, what was it you said earlier? If you can't get it yourself, you shouldn't be eating it. So the process that it takes to go from the cow to the table, or for the slaughter,
from moo to T-bone, okay?
That's I guess that anyway, the process it takes to do that, and that's the thing you should be looking for. How is your process? Is not good. Food that's processed, it probably no longer has anything.
No, we're talking about old people. We're talking about, if your food is processed, it will process you. That's it. If your food is cooked, it will cook you. If your food is dehydrated, it will dehydrate you. If your food is burnt, dead, or incomplete,
that well done steak you like, you're doing, not only are you now eating dead flesh, now you've covered it with carbon, layer, a layer of carbon. And we know carbon acts as a carcinogen in the body.
Well, let's be clear. We don't want to use carbon. Yes,
let's be clear.
Let's be clear, because carbon is what you're looking at. Carbon is the foundation of anything. Mm-hmm. But what you're saying is that carbon is the only thing left, because everything else is gone. What you're saying is that everything else has been burned and it's been cooked away. You know how they got that little chimney up there at the restaurant that smells so good before you walk in the doors? You smell it in the parking lot.
All the goodness. On out the chimney. All the nutrients.
That's why it smells so good. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about what's left is carcinogenic material that is highly damaging to your body on so many levels. Regardless, I mean, you can...
And as a trigger for a lot of the...
Inflammatory
cancer,
diseases.
inflammatory and cancerous diseases that people have that would normally be laying dormant in your body, but the things that we eat, the things that we consume, create chemical reactions to the things that are in your body. That's why some people are allergic to some things and some people aren't. You know, that whatever you're putting in your body, whatever you're coming in contact with is causing a reaction. So every time you eat food, every time you consume something, oh, this is another thing. So consumption isn't just about, let's talk about this for a minute. Consumption is not just about what you're eating. Or what you're chewing and then and digesting. Consumption can also be about what you're putting on your skin. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. Okay, your skin is the first line of defense. Your skin is like everything. Your skin is the first thing that tells you something's wrong, whether it's goosebumps because there's danger nearby, or whether you start sweating. There's so many things. The skin reacts in a way on so many different levels. So like my son was asking me, what do I use to moisturize? And to be honest, during the winter I try to use a little bit more moisture, but most of the time, most of the year I don't use anything. I use a little bit of hemp oil for my feet, because your feet get a little crusty. You don't want your feet crusty. And then if for some reason I've dried my skin out, like every now and again I'll use like a black soap or something like that that'll strip the natural oil. But hydration comes from within. You want to find a simple based a simple based hydration solution that's a light layer. Like I see people, they shower and then they have to like slather on like pump pump pump. You gotta pump 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 all this lotion and slather it on you, and you don't even know what's in that stuff. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know what's in it, and your skin is absorbing. You're consuming it. You're consuming it, and it's like, if you can't eat it, if you're not supposed to eat it in your mouth, you shouldn't put it on your skin. Okay, like it's a kind of a symbol. Like I think hemp oil, a coconut. What'd you say? Coconut oil is really good. And you can, there's a lot of nowadays. It used to be a lot of this stuff was hard to get. We really didn't have a lot of options. Nowadays, there's really no excuse to.
There's too many options.
There's too many options. There's no excuse. Learn about it. Figure it out. Get some knowledge. Do some research. You don't have to necessarily listen to us or believe what we're saying, but ask some questions for yourself. Just take some care. Take some self-love, some self-care. I mean, people. We were talking earlier, and people put more care and concern about the features that are going into their car than they do about
the features that go into your damn day.
Yeah, or your day, or into your body. Like it's
disturbing.
At best.
It's disturbing.
At best.
But to touch on what you said, you don't have to. We're not giving you any one specific. If I could offer any advice, it would be coconut oil. And my whole thing is keep it simple. Everything from what you eat, I'm not gonna say what you watch, because you want to develop your mind. But when it comes to your body, it's already complex enough in there. You don't understand it. I don't understand it all the way. No one understands it all the way. This brain here is like,
we both ended up in white tees today.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
The right timing. But we don't understand. We don't even know what's going on in here. The scientists don't even understand 100%. But when you break it down and you try to understand the creator, it becomes a lot more simple. And this whole situation wasn't supposed to be this difficult. There wasn't supposed to be arguments over this. There wasn't supposed to be wars about what the hell we should eat or what we should wear.
And that should tell you something too. Like the amount of energy, the amount of the like you said, the warfare, everything that goes on within the food industries and the just in general should tell you how important it is. You know what I mean? It's
if they can control what they put inside of you, they will control you.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they basically have taken like I'm really starting to believe, and not to go all conspiracy theorist on this yet, because we are, we're the fraud department, so we only deal with truth. And I don't have, other than my gut, I don't have the details to necessarily support. But I'm really starting to believe
based on my travels, and I've been all around the world to 7 continents, I'm really starting to believe that when Columbus Nim set sail over the ocean blue for the Americas and a better life, I really believe we were an experiment. Like, I really starting to believe, because like when you look at where's the applause button? Hold on. Yeah, oh no, that's the cheer button. Hold on, applause. Yeah. Okay. I really believe we'll get a little more smooth with this later. Who cares about? But anyway, I really believe that we were an experiment, because when you look at we have the same foods. These food manufacturers, they manufacture food here, and they manufacture food over yonder across the pond, and and everywhere else. And it can't just be that, oh, these other countries are more strict with their laws and regulations. It has to more be that our country is just allowing them to do certain things, like, because we have, I mean, although we're the land of the free and all that, we have some pretty strict guidelines as far as what people can do and put in our food. It would be nothing for the government to just say, oh yeah, you can't put this and that. Like,
You can't put dye. We can't put yellow 1, blue 5, and red 40 in our candy. Continue.
Yeah. So I really feel like there's been more of it's not so much that they failed to enact certain laws. I feel like they've given these people permission. I feel like some of the heavy hitters from back in the day that started the whole manufactured food industry.
Like we said in the last episode, your silence is judged just as much as your words.
Yeah, and so like the Rockefellers and all these these captains of industry that came over here and got us all set up the way we are today. I really believe that because we're the only ones that this happens to. And when you look at the makeup, if you've ever stepped outside of the U.S. and kind of look back in comparison, to the rest of the world and how they function, we just look like animals sometimes. I'm sometimes embarrassed to even tell people that I'm from the U.S. I often just say I'm from Canada, but when I'm traveling, but and that's unfortunate, because I don't want to be judged the way that
my leaders are operating.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be, I can remember one of the first trips I took with and this is the thing. One other thing I've noticed too is that people, and this I don't have any scientific proof. I haven't done any case studies to back this up, but it's one pattern I'm starting to notice, and just interacting a lot more with people, is that people who eat meat are a lot more aggressive energetically. Like, they're just like, they're let's almost animalistic. Like, I guess, I don't know, you are what you eat. I guess that
no, let me talk about it. Because we were talking about negative, we were talking about positive, this, then the third. We are talking about just the meat itself, the animal, the flesh that's on. We're not talking about emotions. We're not talking about the spirit of that animal. We're not talking about the DNA, the history. What has that animal done in its lifetime?
Oh, so if we're gonna eat animals, we should eat lions, so we can be like, oh.
But that just shows you. That just shows you the lion. The lion. If you don't look like a lion, if you don't walk like this, if you don't have that grill, and a lion is never gonna lotion up and get in the shower. You know what I'm saying? That lion is out there every day looking for theirs. You're not. You look for yours at 6:00 when you get off for happy hour. You want to go get your oxtails. That's too simple. That's not how it works in nature. If we're talking about nature. In nature, you know what happens? There's a predator that's more physically capable, and there's prey.
Mm-hmm. And this speaks to, just not to plug my book or anything, but this speaks to like this theory, this indoctrination of superiority that I've kind of concluded. And it's basically, we think we're so superior that we don't have to follow the rules of nature anymore. We've got all of this sentience and free will, and we can do all these things. So we're not always instinctually guided. Like, animals are here, and they pretty much follow whatever their programming is. That's what they follow. We're able to kind of move loosely in and out of our programming, and so we think we're superior and we can go against nature. And we're finding that more and more nowadays, we've got more and more disease, more and more of this, more and more that we have to cure. And if we just went back to the way nature intended,
like you brought to my attention the other week, we're the only species that has to pay to be here, and it shows in everything related to health.
As on the first of the month, yes, we're the only species that pays to be
Come on
here.
now. Like, so we're talking about
Wow.
yeah, we're talking about the experiment that is the United States.
Yeah.
We're talking about, and they got the best source to run it. You know what I mean? The transatlantic slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna power this experiment on the backs of the most superior people on the planet.
And you know what's interesting? I was working on a little, doing some little background work on a movie set recently, and I was listening to some young men in front of me talking, and we're all just chilling, and they're talking, and they were really driving in about how much they were getting paid, and how much work they were getting. Like, you're not getting any more. Like, you paying me $150, you ain't getting more. You ain't getting more than $150 worth of work or with effort. And there's a stigma, I feel like, in the Black community. Like, Black people are kind of lazy, and this and that. But when you think about it, what it was sitting there in that moment that I realized, you know what, they dragged us over. When they talk about, and let me just pause parenthetically to just insert that, we hold on, our DNA holds memories and all this stuff for what, 16, 14, 15, 16 generations. Okay. And we're only a few generations out from slavery. So a lot of Black people still feel that shit, we fucking built this country. Excuse my language. Here we go. Here we go. We're getting live. But we built this country for free. Okay. And not even for free. We actually paid a cost. It wasn't really for free. We actually were the ones that paid the cost. So I can see why now at this point they're still feeling like, I'm not doing any more than is necessary. You still owe me for building this country.
You still owe me the 1/3 of a human that I am.
Three-fifths, I think it was.
Yeah.
We were three-fifths of a human. So
it's quite simple.
How can you blame? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really understand science, DNA, how things are passed on, just like genetic defects are passed on through DNA and through generations, so is trauma. So is, there's a really beloved attorney that I used to work for, taught me most of what I know. And he had this theory that even in the court, even in the justice system, you could have a white person and a Black person who suffered the same injury, but they're going to give the Black person less money, not so much because they're Black, but because as Black people, they can handle more. They can deal with more. It wasn't as, getting beat, the Black person getting beat down, young Black African male getting beat down, doesn't cause the same trauma as it does to little old Alice, 70-year-old Alice, that's never been touched a day in our life. So we built this country for free, paid the price to do so, and we're continuing to pay the price. I don't know. I don't want to get off, really fall too far off topic. We can kind of maybe table this for another episode, but like I said, standing there in that moment, I realized that, we're not, nobody is the way they are for no reason. Not physically, we evolve physically, and our bodies change and things over time because of circumstances and situations and where we find ourselves, and so do we mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So there's just not a lot of understanding from within. A lot of African Americans don't understand why they feel the way they feel. They just feel, they just feel it. So there's that. And
we're highly emotional people, and that's what we have to take into account. And that's not in any bad way. We just absorb more. We absorb more light. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about light and food. We absorb more light from food. We absorb more light from the sun. and that's displayed in our emotion. That's why we express ourselves through art so much, because we're emotion. If you're an emotionless people, you're not gonna have a lot of art. You're not gonna have all this type of stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
animals, cats, dogs, stuff. They're not creating art. They're not.
Right.
They're not creating at all. They are. What do they do?
They're operating within their programming, like you said. And what we're talking about with our being able to go in and out is just our prefrontal cortex. Our brain is just our brain is our superpower on this planet, and that's what allows us to be smart enough
Because we can create.
to
We're
create
like
some
gods. We're
just to create some fucked up industry such as the meat industry that allows us to kill millions of animals a year for profit. So you have to understand, no animal, what and no lion would just, that's not what they do. They find the weakest one running it in the pack and they catch it. They don't even have the consciousness to expand on an idea such as capitalism or such as currency or such as language. All these different languages,
equity, equality,
right?
justice, all
So
these
I'll say
all
that to
these
say
concepts.
we could keep going with what we were talking about, but likely we are emotional because we absorb and we have a light that is super powerful, and the good times and the bad, as far as the DNA is concerned. There's no getting away from it because it all helps you survive. If you only had the good stuff, you just be a happy-go-lucky motherfucker walking around waiting to get popped. But you have those tendencies that keep you protected and keep you defensive that may make it feel like you don't want to swim because you had to watch the gang jump overboard because they wasn't going out like that. And you almost have to respect the ones that killed themselves because they weren't going to live under someone else's thumb.
Yeah, and and it's not just African Americans. You look at there's certain.
Right. I don't want to use that term on this platform just because
Yeah,
it's such a confusing word, and
is.
it's a new word.
It is. It is.
So,
but you look at some other countries, especially specifically like in the Middle East, where they're constantly getting bombed. They're constantly kids are getting killed, raped, beaten, in the street, whatever. And they get on up the next day and go on to work, keep it ticking. But let that happen over here, we would all lose it. Nobody would go to work. Like everything was shut down. It would be such a, oh my gosh. So there's a part of me that feels like there is something to that trauma. Like people who have continuously suffered through trauma, your body and your mind, your mentality, your ego sets up walls, boundaries to in order to be able to deal with it and to absorb it, as a human. Like we can all take on stuff, but if you haven't been through anything, that first time going through something is going to be a lot worse than someone who's been through it, a lot of time, or is used to it. Not that anybody should get used to
but if we compare
trauma,
compare that to the body, if you look at a Jamaican,
wait, I'm sorry, not to hold that thought, but the same goes with the body, and this just circles back to what I was saying about the temporary consumption of meat. Is that for some people, your body has gotten so used to the trauma, it's gotten so used to having to process the trauma and still get up for work, just like the Afghanistan. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to keep going. This is just part of their routine. So your body has gotten used to it. Once you get out of that and your body realizes that, oh wow, like there's something different, there's something better over here. And so for me, having stopped eating all that, stopped, traumatizing my body, once I did go back and just even that pinch, even that just a little bit was like, my body was like, I wasn't able to, I felt the effects of it. I wasn't able to just keep going. I had to get a little more rest. I had to sleep a little longer that next day. I had to recover from that trauma that I had put my body through that day. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm glad you brought it back to the body because if I was gonna give an example, an analogy. So if you look at like a Jamaican man that's been running around the country with no shoes for most of his life, and then he comes to America, you look at his feet, may not even look recognizable to you because his feet have almost become like shoes. And we talked about your feet becoming more ashy just because they go through the most beating, they put in that most work, and they're stuck in these cages that we wear every day. So there's that aspect as well. But there's they're the root of the plant that we are. You know what I'm saying? You have an antenna and you have your roots. Those are your feet. So your feet will build up calluses just like your hands will if you do a lot of lifting. So this is just examples of your body your skin, you're basically a shapeshifter. You know what I mean? You don't look at it like that because they didn't program you to understand how.
You quickly evolve.
Right.
Like even when your fingers get wet, the reason why the tips wrinkle up is so that still be able to grip things while it's wet. It's part of our amphibian DNA.
Exactly. Because we spent time, we came into this world underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to really understand what it looks like physically, what it looks like mentally, and what it looks like spiritually. You know, mentally, we call it PTSD. We call it, oh, that nigga tripping. Oh, he's scared when the gun go off. Like, nah, bro, he got shot. So he has to relive that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that also affects his spirit because no matter what,
you're carrying that with you at all times.
Right. Everything's a baggage, whether it's good or bad. The skills that you have, you know what I'm saying, the talents that you have, the trauma that you have, and the experiences, because experiences don't really delegate as good or bad. It's just what makes you who you are.
Right. Like I can go to a barbecue and I can sit there and fully relax and enjoy myself because I've never been shot at. I've never experienced that. But the person that's been shot at can't go to a barbecue or cookout and fully relax. They're so they have a decreased experience at that barbecue because they're looking over their shoulder waiting to see if Ray and them gonna bust a cap somewhere.
Right. And when we look at you talk about what's going on in the country. You said, oh, it would be like crazy if that happened here. I understand what you're saying, but there's really Chicago is just the best example we have.
Mm-hmm.
That shit, they go on every day. So it's about who gets affected. Mm-hmm. If a bunch of black people get bombed, like those little girls did at that church, yeah, nothing stopped. The black people, we got a little news article, but nothing stopped. So, I feel like I understand what you're saying about how it's different over there. For us, yeah, we're definitely softer overall.
For example, when you look at, you weren't born yet, but when 9/11 hit,
exactly,
and that plane came through, you ain't seen so many kumbayas the reaching across the aisle, and the Democrats and the Republicans, we were one country because we were united by that trauma. Trauma unites people. That's why, like if you're a college guy, I don't think you have a reason to pledge, but that's why they put you through so much when you're pledging fraternities, because through adversity builds bonds, so they say, whatever. I'm not into any of that either, but that's what happens. You didn't see it. So and here everything shut down. People were there were national days of mourning. I think they even got on the steps and was praying and everything. It was a show. It was although it was a traumatic thing, I think it did. And then that's when we got the TSA. That's when the airport started. That's when it got wild, and you had to start.
Whole new workforce.
Oh God, whole new world or whatever. But yeah, so we don't do well. Some people in some geographical areas, trauma is a way of life, and they've gotten, not to say they've gotten used to it, but you have to. They've adapted. They're dealing with it. They're still there. Here, we our even our homeless people live good compared to
our bandwidth is very decreased. It's diminished compared to.
Yeah, we don't have a bandwidth for trauma. Here we want our country has become so litigious. Everybody's going to court because any little infraction, any little impediment to my peace and serenity, I'm taking you to court. I'm suing you because you know what I'm saying. So we have a very small bandwidth for trauma.
Man, that's a good point, because I think what that does is this low bandwidth for trauma and these feelings that I can sue you, I can take my money, and I can extract what I want from you because you did something to me that was adverse, or you were not operating within my sense of understanding. Because I like when people, I was watching some Kevin Gates that posted, he was talking to Charleston White, which is he's a guy, he's an interesting character in the black community. I can't explain him right now, but I actually like what he does. But anyways, he was explaining, he was like, look, brother, nothing about this is beef or whatever you call it. You just may not understand. I may be operating outside of your understanding.
Yeah.
And that was the best way he could have put that, because everything we're doing on a daily basis is supposed to be within our own understanding.
It's your consciousness. So just like a child, a small child, as they're learning, they're growing, they're gaining knowledge, they raise their consciousness level. When a child is real small, they really only don't see past the one room they're in. You know what I'm saying? They can only see really that one room.
Right.
One of them parents better be in it, or else it's going to be hell if you walk out of it. They don't really know that, hey, they're coming there. There's another room over there. They come back, because that's not their level of consciousness. They haven't learned enough to get there. So like, even somebody was asking me the other day what I think about this, what I think about the fact that somebody believes a certain thing, and it's like, it's not that they don't have the truth. They just can only understand it based on their level of consciousness. So if I, as far as a car goes, I don't have the consciousness to build a car or to repair a car. I have the level of consciousness that allows me to operate a car, that allows me to put gas in a car, and maybe know when that car needs some help. But the auto mechanic, they have a higher level of consciousness for how that car operates and how that car functions, how to repair things, how to make things happen, how to improve things, how to soup it up, how to, lower it down, whatever you got to do to it. And the universe is the same way. When you start learning and understanding the operating system of the universe, it raises your consciousness to a point that you understand things on a different level. So you're no longer, when you're a child, you're just riding in the car. You know what I'm saying? You're riding in the car. Someone else is driving. You're just going along where it comes. Then you get a little older. You learn to drive the car. Now you're out buying cars. Now you know what I'm saying? But do you ever get to the point where you can fix a car, or where you can build a car, or where manifesting and all of that? You get to that higher level of consciousness. That's what they call manifestation, um, and all that good stuff. Was that a good analogy?
That was a great analogy.
I think that was a great
analogy.
analogy.
I like the way you use the laws of the universe as the operating system, because everything is under operating system. When we're looking at technology is a reflection of the human body. You look at a car, you have an engine, which is your heart. You have the air intake, which is your lungs. You have an exhaust pipe, which is your whole body's an exhaust pipe, actually. And we see that with the skin. We see that with the nose, with the mouth, with your, you know what I'm saying? So,
and everybody has an operating system. Some people's operating system is based and rooted in their religious beliefs. Some people's operating system is based and rooted in, get money. Some people's operating system is based on, social media and likes and followers and all that kind of stuff. So we all have one. And so as I said, once you start raising your awareness,
once you start understanding the universes, which is what you operate in, you will begin to reflect your operating system to mirror that.
It's kind of like The Matrix. That movie, The Matrix. Like, if you don't watch anything else ever again in your life, watch The Matrix. There's more truth in that movie.
Yeah, I watched it with her, and I was kind of just trying to. I had to let her watch it without doing too much talking. Before, so I was just like, so you can ask the questions. But when she saw like the codes and the numbers, and then I was like, she was like, "Is that what we were seeing in Svalbard?" And I was like, that's a part of it. Because what we have to understand about the Matrix is only relative to what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
You are operating, the headlights, you got eyes. Your eyes are just the reflection of the light that's coming in. It's reflected backwards into your brain, and then your brain decodes these signals, and they put this picture up here that lets me touch this and touch that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the operating system of the universe, and you talked about people talking about when they want to get money, they want to get followers, or they want to follow God, or whatever your operating system is at the current time, you'll start to recognize when you don't understand something. Like when you see if I drop a tennis ball and it stops right here, you won't understand it until I show you this angle and I show you that I had a net on it, or I had a string attached to it.
Yeah, string attached
so
to it.
So that's what it is when we watch movies. We only get the lens that they want you to see. When you're in life, you get whatever lens you have at the moment. And when you have the context that is the operating system of the universe, you can begin to change your actions to mirror, and not even change your actions, but you just understand why certain things happen and certain things don't. Why, when you pray on your knees to Jesus and you expect for the light bill to get paid next week, and
it's like limited features. Going back to the car analogy, it's like limited features on a car. Like so when you're kind of younger, you're just coming up, your car is probably pretty basic, probably just have some headlights. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you really can just see kind of just what's in front of you. looking direct and straight on. You come up a little bit more, you might get your car with those little features. Now you got your rear cam. Okay. So now you can back up, you can see behind you, you see forward or whatever. Now, the car I drive, it records everything. I got cameras all around the car, 360. Anyways, but it just speaks to that's the level of awareness that I want to have on the road. That's the level of consciousness I need my vehicle to have. Like, I really don't care whether my car has massage seats and whatever other weird features cars come with now. I like my Tesla is basic. It's kind to the earth. It runs off solar power, which is what we run off of. Everything runs off of solar power, actually, because without the sun, we are we're like nothing. I don't know what we would be.
And with too much sun, everything's a balance. Okay, so when it comes to this analogy that you use, that is the Tesla. As a kid, we understand that Tesla's not for them. That's too much. But then you get to about 25, and you can start renting cars, and then you're in the middle age range to where your brain is fully mature. And now you're able to handle that much stimulation. But if grandmama were to start driving again, do you think a Tesla would be? No, because that would be way too much stimulation. She wouldn't understand how to use the iPad in the middle. She wouldn't understand why there's no dash. Like, her brain is not, like, if you put her in a Tesla,
level of consciousness would not be able to handle. She would not understand.
But I don't even want to say level, because it's like, it is levels. But back in the day, cars only had so much.
Right.
So your perception of a car is different.
So in her last car was that 92,
a 92,
the 92 Buick Regal.
Okay.
And then before that, she had a 72 Chevy Laguna. And I think there was maybe one other car.
So we're talking about the universe.
93 years old with only 3 cars her whole life.
Right. So we're talking about the universe. Let's talk about. We're talking about cars, and we have this car that is our body that lets us experience this world. So our perception of a vehicle is different depending on who you are.
Now, you know what? Let's go back to grandma, because grandma was a good example of, now grandma was made a good life, had a lot of kids, had a lot of things, but it's been done from a very limited perspective. She didn't necessarily believe in people ever should stay in their own countries. This is what she said, whatever. And so she doesn't understand why we like to travel so much, why every time she calls we're out of the country somewhere, why, you know what I'm saying? Like, she doesn't have that level of understanding for what international travel does for the person, for the mind. And that should be, we got to do a show on that.
Let's do it when we're traveling.
Oh yeah, where are we going? Let's see. Let's we got to go somewhere.
Let's plan spring break.
I thought we were going somewhere. We got to go somewhere for Christmas. Because
I'm just saying, like, let's just, that's 3 months out. We can book the right flight. It's crunch time right now.
I got checks coming. I got a settlement coming. I got a settlement coming.
Look at these settlements.
Who needs money? But that's another thing. Who needs money? We don't operate off money. We operate off of the currency of the universe. I think I got some Delta credits, and you got 100,000 Sky Miles,
and that 150 credit. It's not much for an international flight, but
it's a nice.
I was looking at the book, and I forgot I had that in there.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, you rich. You rich.
I'm trying to stack the guns. You know what I'm saying?
Anyways, yeah, and I accidentally used, when I upgraded all our flights to Paris this summer, I thought it was gonna take my Sky Miles for me and your Sky Miles from you. No, I ended up paying for everybody's.
You should have known that. Come on, man. You ain't no real traveler. You don't know how the site work. How Sky Miles work. These first little ball out.
Anywho, so you might have to run me some
Sky
Miles back.
What is the percentage of people that went to the North Pole? Just so y'all know, like, we do this.
Oh, it's like, so the last trip we took was to the North Pole.
Just like everybody.
Oh, probably less than 1% of the population.
We're less than the 1% of
what is that? Let's see. I'm gonna set up my laptop next time so that we can,
because the percentage is getting lower. I feel like every year, just because more people are like growing that aren't traveling. Like, no one's just like, it's not becoming an attraction. So I just feel like,
right.
Yeah. So we went to the North Pole. Ho ho ho. We did.
Yeah, we didn't see Santa, but we did catch a glimpse of Rudolph. We'll post some of that stuff on our. So we got to get this thing together. Like, we're you're gonna have to bear with us because we're just starting the podcast, stepping into the podcast scene, getting whatever thoughts and stuff we want to say out there. So we'll get our production.
But to touch back on grandmama, she's a person that I feel like she's had a familial experience in America. You know, I would definitely say it's not unique, but I feel like it is in a sense as well. But the fact that she was able to have such a big family and, like you said, have that limited view is very important about understanding yourself. Understanding your limits is very important when it comes to, let's say, working out. You know what I mean? No one's going to go in there. You can't even pick up a 45-pound plate. Why would you put it on there to go squat? It doesn't make sense. So when it comes to stimulation, like a lot of people can't be exposed to certain things just because their eyes aren't ready to decode it yet. And if you watch The Matrix, you understand that Neo experienced that once he was, you know, what do you call that? Exposed to the Matrix. So when it comes to us and our level of awareness, we don't know what we don't know. That's true with anything.
Right.
But at the same time, you know what you do know. And it's all about the rate of change. So year to year, what do I know that I didn't know last year? That's going to show you how much growth you have to do. If you're growing 5, 10, 15 a year, or you're growing 2500, 300 a year, I feel like the faster you grow, you should be more, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like in order to grow though, you definitely have to get outside your box. Like, and to me, in order to really grow, you've got to travel. I don't feel like anybody.
It's like repotting. It's like repotting a plant.
Yeah, it's like I don't feel like anybody that stays sedentary in one geographical location all the time is going to ever master the universe. And maybe they don't want to, and that's fine too.
Understanding
but just like I was just like a snake. The snake.
I was looking at your tattoo.
Oh yeah, my ring. Yeah. So the snake, and it's gotten a bad rap thanks to the Bible, but the snake is not really the
it's not
the demon
the
thing
evil.
that we. But anyway, but a snake. If you put a snake, a lot of times we have snakes in cages, right? A snake in a box. A snake will not grow larger than that box. Okay. Basically. You have to enlarge the box for the snake to grow larger, and that's like a genetic scientific type of thing. And the same goes with our it's in their DNA. So so for whatever reason, the snake realizes, when the snake is in a box, it realizes its limitations in that box and won't grow beyond how it can fit in that box. And so I guess, like they talk about thinking, or the cage, but they talk about, thinking outside the box, expanding your mind, growing, getting out there. So in order, you have to, if you stay in your one geographic location, that's like the snake staying in a small box. You've got to get out there. You've got to go see other things, see other places, see that people do other things different and are successful and are winning. You know what I'm saying? Like there's more than, there's lots of ways to skin a cat, as they say. But like the snake, like I said, a snake's not going to grow any larger than that box. And a lot of our energies and a lot of the things that we exhibit as the animals that we are similar to the other animals that we see in nature, similar to the snake. So unless you get out there, unless you grow, you travel, do things different, see another city, your consciousness is never going to elevate outside of where you're currently at.
And I want to talk about this from a culture perspective, because this just made me think a lot. And when we're talking about animals, we have a bear on the screen right here. It looks like a little baby cub learning to cross the river for the first time. Bear. Right. So every time they walk mile and a mile and a mile, their brain is growing because they have to remember more. They have to see more. It's the same with a dog. But the rule of the universe for that snake is that we're not going to overextend ourselves. Like, it's not going to be fun being a big dude in a coop. You know what I'm saying? So it only grows so much. So with humans, we judge our growth based on our mind. You know what I'm saying? We understand we're going to be how tall we're going to be. But the test of a man is what he did with his mind. You know what I'm saying? The test of a woman is how good they're able to manifest their ideas and nurture ideas using their mind. So with people and geographic locations, I feel like people that look like me, for lack of a better word, love to pride themselves on their hood. We love to pride themselves on the zip code that we're from. Like I know this neck of the woods
Rep
better.
your city.
I know this neck of the woods better than anybody. I know all the back streets. I can get you here, there, everywhere, driving backwards. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's cool, bro. I hear you. I feel you. But what else?
Yeah, they're flexing on this small location. We flexing on like we've been to I've been all 7 continents
right.
now.
And
That's
so it's like and you talk about not wanting to say that you're from America because it's like, man, I'm from Earth,
right?
Man. Like
I used to say that I'm a citizen of the Earth, and I'm a child of the universe.
Right, because you can't like attaching yourself to these institutions that are governments, these states that are countries. You're limiting yourself to a condition
and those ideologies that exist within those countries.
Right. So a condition is just a set of, you know what I'm saying, characteristics that make up what an experience or what a thing is. So the condition of this microphone is black, it's solid, and it weighs X amount of kilograms, right? But when we're talking about a state or a location, you're really limiting yourself when you're not.
I mean, a city is just a vibrational frequency. Either every city has a soul. You know what I'm saying? Every city has an energy. Like on all a city or location is just made up of the energy of the people in it.
It's made up of the people, and that's what I want people. I want you to flex about your connection. You know what I'm saying, to the city. I don't want you to tell me how good you know it because you don't know everything, and it's more impressive to be able to adapt to more environments. It's more impressive to be able to thrive in cold and hot. You know what I'm saying? In wet and dry. You know what I mean?
My city, my zone is wherever I'm at.
Right. And that's the thing. People are experiencing the world and not letting the world experience them. So when you talk about the conditions that you're from or what situation that you are derived from, you're not talking about what you put on the city. What you've made different. When I walk in a room, I can make it rain or I can make it this. You know what I'm saying? You were talking about that last night. Remember last night you were saying how you could control the rain. Yeah. That's more impressive to me than the fear that you put into your people. You know what I mean? Just because you put fear into people, that doesn't really mean anything. But you're a low vibrational person. Power is very skewed. We like to respect all powers like it's the same. It's not. The power that you get from being a dictator, that you get from killing millions of Jews, that you get from investing into a community, that's different. It all looks different. 19 Keys has a different power than Joe Biden has. You know what I'm saying? Joe Biden's power is appointed based on a certain set of conditions and rules and this, that, and the third. He's operating, like you said, as a citizen of the universe.
Yeah.
His power is from the attraction that he has, that people have to him. You know what I mean? Not how much money he's made, not what his business does.
It's just about electability. It's not actually about influence.
Right.
You know, a person like your 19 Keys or your Billy Carsons that we've
it's about what they put into the world.
Yeah, they're leaving a mark on the world. They're gaining their influence. I don't like to use the word influence, but that's become a word on social media, being influencers, but
I want to talk about this because I heard somebody earlier leisure, they were talking about this. He was like, people like to downplay. You put this word on it like influencer, and it seems like, you know, boo. But when in history has anyone ever had 50,000 people that can just listen to you and just go with what you say? That's a big fucking deal. Mm-hmm. You're a world leader at this point because
I mean, just 60 years ago, I mean, just a while back ago at the late 1900s, you could only listen to who was coming on the radio. People used to have to come home. All you had to listen to was people coming on the radio. The only way you could even disseminate any type of message, quote unquote, was through papers, pamphlets, and usually through the Black church. And we aren't going to even talk about that just yet. We're gonna save that. We're gonna definitely save that for another day.
But yeah, so we like to downplay these things just because social media the internet has made so many things a lot easier, and we have too much information that we're not even able to get smart. Yeah. Back when the information was hidden in the book, it felt like it was an experience to get the information. So
we're out of balance. We're out of balance. It used to be back in the day a lot of information wasn't available, so people were hungry for it. People were constantly
Now we have
looking to
everything and
learn.
we're stupid.
Now we have too much information out here, so there's no need to go thirsting for knowledge. All you got to do is Google it. Most people believe that all you have to do is Google something,
and how
to,
you get
to
the
know
information puts a value on it. So when you learn a lesson from grandmama, to bring it back to the family, and she gives you some game, and after you've been talking to her for a minute, she says something that's like, ooh, that one stuck with me. It's gonna be, the value is amplified because of the messenger. So when it comes to Google and reading a script, because people don't even read. When was the last time you read a full article? Tell me. When was the last time that you saw you got the answer you needed from Google because it extracted it for you, and you actually finished the article start to finish, read the author, when it was published? We don't do that no more. And it's so sad because it comes in these cookie cutter microwavable packages that is an Instagram post or an article, it's a little bigger.
It's a soundbite,
right.
Just a quick tidbit,
So it's just about valuing the source of the information, because when you don't value it, you won't value the information. The value you get from the source is translated into how you treat the information. So if you're only able to learn how to do such and such and such and such from your dad that's a mechanic, we're talking about the car situation, it's going to be a little bit different than learning how to do all that shit on YouTube. You can still get to the final product, but you're going to have a different level of pride. You're going to have a different level of intentionality that you move behind what you're operating on, your operating system, because your operating system is put into you, unfortunately and fortunately. It's given through your DNA. There's certain things in nature that you're not going to be able to override, but your parents play a big role. Your city, because it takes a village to grow you.
Yeah. And a lot of times, unfortunately, as parents, we try to drive an operating system into our kids that's not what they kind of came here with. You got those kids where parents are always wanting to, make them do this or that, or saying all they want to do is go sing and spin and do cartwheels in the grass. You know what I'm saying? Like that, so it's an we're all in the US, we're being given an operating system made and geared towards capitalism. That's kind of the what I touch on in the book, as far as the indoctrination of superiority, and because the rewards of capitalism go to the most superior, go to the best, the greatest, whatever, and it doesn't really value or necessarily appreciate all of the contributions that are made to the system as a whole. So anyway, so I think we've had a pretty good chat today.
I don't think we talked about a topic.
What was our topic?
Standards.
Okay.
On our next episode.
Okay, so we'll end this stream and then we'll start a new stream. No, we gotta, and we done talked the whole hour and almost hour and
67 minutes.
Yeah. So okay, so this would just be the prelude. And then next episode we'll actually talk about what we came to talk about, which is standards
and how you can begin to reshape your life through the use of standards. Because standards, you already use them every day. You know what I'm saying? You have a really, I'm not gonna say good relationship, but you have a relationship with standards, and you experience.
But they're going down.
You experience
going down every day.
Right, standard conflict, and that's what you often see when you date people, or you have to, co-work. You know what I'm saying? Cooperate. Those are all ways that you're able to experience standard conflict because you're operating in another system. So we want to begin to refine.
That's why some people can't get along in the office place, because your operating system just ain't
And that's why we have what we know as corporate. And corporate is taking over the world, unfortunately. We can't talk about certain things no more.
Corporations are like a cult now.
Well,
it's like these you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. You gotta wear certain clothes. You gotta conduct yourself a certain way.
You have to worship the chief executive, the officers.
It's so much. We gotta share that video. What was that? That one girl.
She broke it down.
You
could tell she's done. She's done working.
Yeah, she's done.
She's working from home rest of her life.
I would rather struggle being self-employed than to work for another corporation. There's an energy. Corporations have an energy, unless it's like a corporation like Google. Google seems like it's.
No, let's talk about this real quick, because I wanted to know, like for people that have had a lot of jobs, like what is that like for people like Dorian? Like, even though they're not,
corporate jobs,
he's not all the way there yet, but what's it like? Like he's a person that's able to fit into multiple molds and make it do what it
He's
do.
very adaptable.
And I really like that, but I also want to know, for some people, it takes a toll on them. For some people, you lose yourself because you worship 8 hours of your day, your most prime, optimal hours, the sun up to sun down for these people.
Well, I mean, you do lose yourself because that's the first thing in our culture. First thing when you meet a person, that's the first thing you want to know about them. So what do you do for a living?
Not what I do for my kids.
Right. Not what you do in your free time or what you do for, usually it's the very first question, what do you do for a living? Because not only does that define the person, but it also tells the person asking the question how much respect they should give to you.
Right.
People are respected in our society based on
even
what
if
they
it's
do.
Even if they still like you for who you are, they know how much they should jive with you. What type of stuff they should.
You're
ask
judged based on
right.
a lot of things. Your choice of employment, and a lot,
But think about it. In our real natural operating system, let's say we're in a village with the fam, you know what I'm saying? We already know who does what. Dad goes and hunts, my brother goes and fishes, my mom makes the clothes, my this does that. He got the herbs over there. You know what I'm saying? It was more about what needs to be done. I do what needs to be done. Like, what do you do for a living? What needs to be done? That's what I'm gonna start saying. Because you said that now. I want to start shifting my operating system so far off from what people like. I still have my button up, but day to day, like
I create. I create. What do you do for a living?
Right,
I create.
Right. If I'm talking to someone that I know, this is not a business interaction. This isn't everything's a business interaction nowadays. That's the sad part. Everything's a transaction. Let me see your Instagram. Let me see how many followers you got. Because
friends, relationships are all transactional these days.
Right. But I want to start shifting, like not my perception of myself, but when someone talks to me, like, you don't get to, like, I do what needs to be done.
An operating system is built on a language of ones and zeros and whatever. So you have to shift. Yeah, you have to shift your language. And the way you speak and for the way you think in order to change.
No diet. We're on a live it. The word is spelled diet. It is whatever you eat. So live it. It's pretty simple. I mean, I feel like that's just.
Is that what that means?
Just spell it. Spell it. Diet.
How are you gonna die? Your diet is how you're gonna die.
It's pretty simple. If you like, and that's why they're now having to tell us, oh yeah, everything's based on what you eat. Like, this ain't no new information. The scientists are just giving you the numbers, the codes, the zeros, and the ones that explain the operating system of the universe. But it's pretty simple. It's very simple. I can't tell you why.
But I like the fact that you say you're going to start saying different things because that's going to change.
Feeding into it.
That changes your operating system.
And it makes people have to respect you. Saying like, oh, he's not just going. I can't. Right. You don't listen to the radio. You know what I'm saying? So like when it comes,
and that does go towards the standards that we have. Your standard, not just your standard of food or your standard of living. It's your standard of speech and your standard of thought. When I walk in, when I went up in there cutting up at Morehouse yesterday, they know that when I walk in that building, they can't talk to me any kind of way. They know that I'm not going to tolerate, we'll get to you in a minute. No, you can get to me now. Right? Yeah.
And people will look at that as
all the way down here.
This is the problem. So someone that's working there may perceive, it's all about perception. Because the action is the action. The action is operating in a vacuum. It has nothing, no emotion. You put the emotion on it. You put the feelings on it. So when it comes to someone perceiving that interaction that I want to be dealt with now, or, I'm not going nowhere, they perceive that as disrespectful to them. But what it actually is more respect for yourself and understanding that I'm here right now. All I have is right now, and I'm ready to put that right now into you in this situation. So if you don't want to handle me with that same respect and that advocacy that you have for the kids, Mr. Primus, you know what I'm saying? I know you're watching.
We wasn't calling out names, not on this episode, but okay. Yeah. Hey, we're all about the truth. There's nothing higher. Nothing higher than the higher vibration than the truth.
Right, but that's the thing. We're not operating in shade. We didn't do nothing. That interaction could have been. You were on live, so I mean. She was on Instagram Live.
So I went and did some, advocated
Gloucester Hall
for some students. And afterwards, I received a little CYA email from the director of financial aid talking about how I was disrespectful. What did he say? I was disrespectful. I know I need to, because I need to respond to this message too. I was disrespectful. I beat on his desk and I
You
cursed
threatened
him.
the news.
I threatened to go back to the news again, which that ain't a threat. That's the real. Actually, I don't have to go back to the news. The news is coming to me. I've been actually holding them at bay, trying to give them an opportunity to do what's right. But no, but I wasn't trying to paint me like I was some in there like some angry animal. No, I used the appropriate level of intensity and fortitude to advocate for students that you clearly are just decided to underserve. And like I said, all you can tell, I'm asking, when are you going to make the kids a priority? You're holding on to this many, it's so we gotta record a whole podcast on that situation and just go ahead and just break the whole thing down. But essentially all you're going to tell me is, oh well, look up on your little computer. Let me see. Let me just check this. Let me check that. Oh, and what day was it credited? And what day? Well, we're in compliance. Compliance.
And this is what the whole topic about
No,
standards.
hold on. Before you start that compliance, let me just, for all you wondering what we're in compliance actually means in white corporate speak is we've done the bare minimum. We've done the bare minimum, so leave me alone. And what it means is we've done the bare minimum. I'm only here to collect a check, so please leave me alone. That's what we're in compliance actually means.
And and what it just basically just says was you have no grounds for any action moving forward.
Right, but we have grounds. We have ground because you're not in compliance with the standard of excellence that I expect from Morehouse. Let's not get off on a tangent, child. I don't want another headache today. We're gonna record a separate video. I feel it coming. I've got to save the force of this energy. For
order your shoes
for them, because the fraud department is going to bring the heat on them as well. So let's just table that, because I'm a headache.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time and attention.
We'll be back. And if you have any, if you liked what you saw, or if you have any questions about anything you want us to address on another episode, please feel free to leave a comment, leave a question, and we will address it at the time. Come back and say goodbye, Bubba. All right, love y'all.
Doses.
Love your show. Thank you
That's
for
a good outro.
Thank you for contacting the fraud department. Yay. Okay. All right.